What is our destiny? This is an age-old question that almost every human that walked before us, with us, and after us will struggle with. It's been tackled by religions, philosophers, scholars, directors, and many more. What makes this question so addicting? What is it about the unknown truths of our world that make us so curious? Luna has been challenging the perception of ourselves and the persona. In the past, Luna has also challenged questions related to destiny, coincidence, and fate. How can these concepts tie into notions of self-love? How can they relate to the dualities of not just our world, but our beings? It is apparent that the dark side of the Mobius has made itself visible during the butterfly concept. In this video, we'll be talking about the Dreamworld, destiny, and coincidence, and how it relates to the lore of the past and the lore of the future. Without further ado, let's get into it. Butterfly was the dark concept that everyone had been anticipating for so long. We had so many teasers with more lore installments, and it felt like forever to get to this point. Let's first address the official BBC lore, which, as always, can be found in the description of the music video. Most of the lore there is nothing new to what we've been reading. However, there is one part that I would like to clarify. It is the part where BBC writes, "Born in Eden, the utopian land, Luna YY chooses to embrace the forbidden and leave to find their own selves. Eve, the leader of YY, had faith in being born again with the song New. Chu keeps her hopes up with her yearning towards Eve. Go On loves her unique self. Olivia Hay shows anger towards the taboos of Eden. When all of their emotions gather, a neanthropone genes of YY manifests." I've discussed the four essences and one being aspect of YY, and the different parts that each girl makes up. The core evidential piece that I had in my argument was the one video, which was a cinema theory video at the Cinema Theory in Busan. After they showed Eve, her word was faith. After they showed Chu, her word was love. After they showed Go On, her word was hope. After they showed Olivia, her word was anger. Why did BBC say that Chu represents hope in the description and that Go On represents love? I made so many arguments for Chu being love and Go On being hope, and honestly, this baffled me. I don't know whether I should take it seriously because it's written official lore, or if I should believe the official BBC Cinema Theory video that was released well before Butterfly was even conceived, let alone released with a description like this. I've really argued with Christian symbolism and the like that Go On represents hope. However, now the BBC has definitely stated that Chu is hope and Go On is love, then I must review my theory and alter it as needed. In Christianity, the Lord is said to offer eternal, unconditional love, whether you commit good or bad acts. Go On's Christian presence cannot be ignored. She represents love now, and we can still apply it. Love heals anger and all wounds. And it explains why she's the only one to go back in time, since love is Luna's central narrative and conflict present in the universe. BBC then writes, all of the units meet with Yojin to add to the addition, resulting in their first EP++ to announce the start of Luna. At the first full moon of Luna New Year, Luna starts their two-dimensional fusion with XX. The intro track XX foreshadows that the album is completed at the opposite side of where ++ is. The 2-2 part is just another statement referring to the Mobius properties of the Luniverse. If you haven't watched it, I explained in my complete theory introduction video, in depth, the Mobius strip. If you need further explanation on it, please watch that video, as I will only be briefly discussing it here. Basically, the Mobius strip is one loop, but with two sides. We know that, on the Luna Mobius strip, there are three planes. Earth, where 1/3 resides, the middle, where Odd-Eye Circle resides, and Eden, where YY resides. On the Mobius strip, you would have to loop around twice in order to actually make it back to your original starting point. Plus, mirror images are indistinguishable. Luna's 2-2 fusion from ++ to XX could be referring to the fact that, on the opposite side of the strip, there could be mirror images of the girls that are indistinguishable. This is somewhat plausible, except for the fact that Cherry and Hyunjin are mirrors, and are two different girls. The last statement of the official lore says that XX foreshadows that the album is completed at the opposite side of where ++ is, and, since we know Go On rewinded the past to mend things, it could be referring to us going back in time, or, simply, the opposite side of the Mobius strip. Just like all the yin and yang pairs that I brought up in the Luniverse, light and dark is a central one that is applicable here. Hi was a light concept, Butterfly was dark. That is perhaps why they are on opposite sides of each other. However, we won't entirely know until we progress further into the lore, so we'll just have to wait for confirmation on this. It could also be referring to the fact that some of the girls could be on the opposite sides of the plane. I've said before that this may have happened in my past analysis. Again, we really can't confirm what it is referring to until we progress further into the lore. However, I'm going to say that for now, my best guess is going to be my first theory, that there are mirror images on the Luniverse plane's opposite sides, and that the girls each are not distinguishable from said mirror images, hence why they fuse. BBC also writes, shot in Iceland, Paris, and Hong Kong. The teasers of XX started on the 1st of January to unravel the stories behind the universe of Luna. Under the slogan of For All Lunas Around the World, it spread worldwide, to all Lunas of the world. Luna causes a butterfly effect through music for the listeners to gain courage, find oneself, and raise one's voice. Anyone under influence is another Luna. On the first day of January, the new year, Luna dropped a teaser, XX. Each week thereafter came a new teaser, until on February 19, 2019, we received Butterfly. We've already established how BBC has created Luna to be universal, through the diversity portrayed in the teasers and music video. When BBC writes, anyone under influence is another Luna, they're saying that anyone under the influence of their music, of the butterfly effect to change the past and rewrite their future, is a part of Luna. You're living it in real time. We're living it in real time. Coincidence meets coincidence in Luna to make each other's fate. I brought this up when analyzing New and Egoist, but the idea of predetermined fate or destiny is explored a lot, especially in the YY by Y lore. Fate, choice, and the self are essential aspects of predestination, and, more specifically, God's plan for us. In Christianity, God has a plan for each child that is born into this world. We will 1. Serve Him and spread His good word, and 2. Fulfill all that we are destined to by His design. That is where predestination originated. We can ask ourselves, are we destined to go to heaven or hell? Or do we have free will to choose our eternal fates? Is our future fated or shaped by our free will? The Eden girls are the ones that battle this notion. In New, BBC wrote, Eve asks a question in Eden. Is it really a bad thing to disobey God? If someone has already decided our fate, wouldn't it be a better life to stand up and against that fate? Sure, it is important for us to make our own decisions. It is our life, and we are here to captain the ship. However, how can we be sure that all of the choices we deem to be making by our own free will are not simply ones we were predetermined to make by God? When Eve thinks it's better to stand up against the fate that has already been decided for her, wasn't that choice just something God had already predestined for her to decide? Had Eve not had this thought, and had she not inspired sin in the other girls, the rest of the Luna lore could not have played out in the way that it has. If her fate had not been destined as such, then it could not have led her to the crucial choices she made by her own free will, to unite with Luna, and to set up the conflict that we see in the lore. I brought up in my Egoist analysis the Shakespearean story of Macbeth. You can watch that analysis for further information if you need it. In the story of Macbeth, witches approach him and tell him his prophecy. He walks away, believing that they are crazy. However, by the end of the story, despite Macbeth making conscious choices so as not to initiate the prophecy, he does so anyways. Even though Macbeth had choices, he fulfilled every prophecy that the witches made about him. So the question begs, are we commanding our fate through egotistical choices that we make? Or are we just fulfilling a destiny that was designed for us to do so? When Eve saw the apple before her and knew, it legitimized her choice to disobey God. It made her want to then inspire the other girls to sin, which allowed for the rest of the lore to play out. But as stated, though Eve may deem these choices as her free will, and that she's defying a predetermined fate, she is not. This surely was not a coincidence. Eve knew it was wrong, but because she saw the apple, she knew it was something she desired. Therefore, every selfish and egotistic decision she made thereafter is justified to her as defying her fate, when really, this was her fate all along. At the end of the description, BBC writes, Luna collides fate and a destiny to create coincidence. This is their fate. This is what they were meant to do. This is their destiny. This is inevitably what they are destined to do. And the coincidence that they create is purely by design. It was predetermined. I mean, think about it. Everything in the Luniverse is calculated. Everything in our universe is calculated. There is a balance maintained by yin and yang, by the physical laws, by the cosmic laws. It may all feel coincidental, but it is not. Nothing we do is coincidental. We were meant to be here now, doing what we are doing what we have done. Our destiny is beyond human control. Whether you think it's God or karma, it's still not us puppeteering the marionettes. And since we are Luna, spreading love and mustering strength and courage to make decisions by our own free will, our destiny is not merely coincidental. We are Luna. This is our fate, and this is our destiny. It's necessary that we do as we do. We have to be harmonious with our world and with ourselves. Let's look at the visuals of the music video. We already know it was rich with allusions and symbolism, so let's analyze it one by one. We start with some very sleepy or slow movements. The very first scene is a girl laying down on the couch, like she's asleep. We next see a forest where a girl sat beneath a tree. The set that the girls are on literally looks like an oasis, like a palace of some sort. Perhaps a haven that only those with the ability to gain strength in thyself can actually find. It's kind of like a dream world. There is also the idea of monarchs or emperors in relation to butterflies in this comeback. We know that Gohan's animal, the butterfly, is an emperor butterfly. This butterfly is also the breed of wings that the Luna members don on the cover of the XX album. So perhaps, since it alludes to regality, as it is the emperor butterfly, this is why the girls are on a set like this. It's just ethereal and mysterious and reminds me of a secret water princess palace. We'll call this the Dreamworld. Ooh, foreshadowing. This video, among all the analysis that I've done so far, tends to be very lyric heavy. In the past, almost every video relied on lyrics to convey the lore for us in subtle yet clever ways. However, Butterfly, above all, incorporates the lyrics into the thematics of the music video much more than the ones of the past. This is due, in part, to the focus of the video shifting from just the members to other girls to spread an empowering message. On that note, the first lyrics of the videos are Eve's, and she says, "Will you whisper to me? You're like the deja vu that wakes me up." Eve is very much referring to Heejin, the first girl's lyrics of Vivid. Heejin sang in her first line, "Starting from the morning, it's already deja vu." These lines parallel each other. When would you wake up? Well, in the morning, of course, just like Heejin said, and just like Eve had experienced when woken. Deja vu is the notion of having felt or experienced the situation before. It's not to be confused with being trapped in a time loop or a continuum of your dreams. Simply, it's an anomaly of your brain in which you feel like you recall the sensory engagements of the moment before, when, quite possibly, you haven't. However, the line that outlines comparable differences between these phenomena blurs further out of focus the closer we examine it, especially when we're trying to apply it to the Looniverse. There's this recurring theme of looping, as I always am saying. The fundamentals of our physical, tangible world is based on a constant, calculated loop. The Earth's 365-day revolution around the sun, the precise 60 clockwise turn of the hour, minute, and second hand, video recording, rewind, and playback, the circumference of a circle, the sunrise, then sunset, then moonrise, then moonset, the circle and cycle of life, birth, midlife, then death. Even after death, we revert back into the land to become part of another continuous loop of decomposition, nutrition, and growth in the soil and environment. Our death will contribute to emerging life and eventual death once more for another organism. Everything in our world is interconnected, and they're defined by the dualities and harmonies. This is where BBC's mention of coincidence comes into play once more. There's always been that age-old question about why we are here and how we even got here in the first place. Luna even toys with that as well, for each girl ends up in this new world without entirely knowing how or why. Lots of theorists out there play with the idea of dreams in relation to Luna's lore. I'd always been a bit skeptical of it. When I was first researching and analyzing Luna, I tended to project the tangible, physical properties of our universe on the Looniverse, so as to maintain the laws of physics and all that nonsense. I needed my brain to justify the concrete to understand them. I didn't want to apply suspension of belief. Honestly, I was a fool, to be frank. Even in our world, there's intangible presences and properties that supply the makeup that we just can't see with the naked eye, like atoms, particles, dimensions, microscopic organisms, just to mention a few. Just like how my favorite philosophy depicts dualism. All things exist as inseparable opposites that are constantly interrelated. They're loops bound by unwritten rules of our universe, the same rules I was employing in the lens through which I analyze the lore. We're born to exist in our youth. We grow old and die with our age. The sun rises and enlightens the world. The moon rises and the world grows dark. We grow still for a moment, and then something draws us to move. These constant, inseparable looping pairs must exist by design in order to maintain peace and harmony in our world. They are not coincidence, and they are things we interact with on a daily basis in order to fulfill our destiny, predetermined or not. The turning point in my own analysis that allowed me to question Luna's references to dreams was in my analysis of One and Only. In One and Only, Gohan interacts with her shadow. This is another pair, dark and light, tangible and intangible, and positive and negative. In the symbolism of shadows, there lies the notion of duality. The physical person represents all the characteristics, dreams, and ideals that we have exhibited within our everyday self, projected onto our world. Our invisible shadow person consists of all characteristics, dreams, and ideals we have chosen to not show the world. Our shadow is the dark, hidden, unmanifested version of ourselves. In it are all the characteristics and choices of the person we will not become, are afraid to become, or have not yet become.